you check the children? You're a little mad sometimes.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Sometimes. That is what
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Horror Show. I'm Cecil Laird.
Jaime Fuego, yeah!
And we are here to review the brand new Marvel film, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Now, we do often review comic book movies here on this channel, but few of them actually end up skewing as far into the horror genre as this particular one did. This is definitely the most horror-leaning of any of the MCU movies that they've put out thus far, so
For sure.
I quite enjoyed the film for that. However, I didn't enjoy the film necessarily as much as I was hoping I would. Like, it was a fun time, it was a good romp, but it's not going to be in the tops of my MCU ranking like I was hoping it would. That being said, there's definitely some fun moments. It felt like maybe some of those moments were a little squandered after a fashion, which some of this stuff we won't be able to actually talk about right away because we're going to keep the first half of this video spoiler free. But quite frankly, there's just no discussing this movie without discussing the spoilers involved. But we will give everyone ample heads up as to when the spoilers are coming. I'll flash it on the screen, and then you'll see a spoilers thing pop up right here next to us. So we will get into that. But overall, I did enjoy the film, just not as much as I was kind of hoping I would. How did you feel?
Okay, well, I just have to get the Iron Maiden quote out of the way. Multiverse of Madness! Dude, I was very entertained by this movie. So much more so, maybe because I went in with moderate expectations, and I was very pleased. I had a hell of a fun time with this. Now, that's not to say that I felt like some character motivations and there were some major script problems throughout, and it still makes me kind of wonder like what Scott Derrickson's vision of this would have really looked like, because he left the project over creative differences, as they like to say. But dude, this movie was a trip visually. This was probably, from my estimation, maybe the most effects heavy of any Marvel film that I've seen.
Oh yeah.
And like legitimately, it was
well, the first Doctor Strange was pretty effects heavy for them too.
Yeah, but this was like so viscerally visual, and like, I mean, if this means Sam Raimi is back in this sort of estimation, I'm all for it.
This felt very much like a Sam Raimi film, like,
especially in the back half, for sure.
Dude, there was so much stuff that I was like, wow, this is very Raimi.
Yeah. And
like there were actually a multitude of Evil Dead references throughout the film, including
a particular cameo, which was great. But
two particular cameos, one of the automotive variety.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I was entertained though, man. It was an onslaught of, I mean, some of the edits were a little junky, and once again, I feel like some of the motivation of characters, I felt like it was a little thin, and you're like, okay, whatever. You definitely need to have watched WandaVision and
yes,
and What If. I'm so glad I watched What If, because, well, we'll get to it. But yeah.
Right, there was a lot of really good things to enjoy in this. It's just the story itself is perhaps the thinnest of any of the Marvel movies that we've gotten thus far.
Yeah.
It's literally just keep this person away from this entity.
Now, was that particular person, is she a character from the comics, or was she a construct?
Look,
specifically
as the comic guy on the
That's
channel,
why I'm asking you, yeah.
I like to say I know a lot of stuff, but America Chavez, if she's from the comics, I am not that familiar with her, and she must be relatively recent.
Okay.
But yeah, America is largely what this film is surrounding basically the entire time. So,
yep.
All right, well, let's dive into the actual story. So, considering what I just said, it's a fine bridge to story, which is basically the movie starts with America Chavez, and it continues with her throughout the film, where basically she has the power to jump from multiverse to multiverse, and she is trying to stop a evil force that is trying to track her down, and she is getting help from Doctor Strange in order to do so. I'm trying not to spoil the very beginning of the movie or anything past a certain point, but that's the crux of the story. And I will say that the last hour and a half to 2 hours of the movie can be summarized with Doctor Strange tries to protect America Chavez from the evil force that is trying to track her down.
Yeah,
that's as simple as the story is, and it does not get much deeper than that.
And
there's a scene focusing on puddles in this movie, and that's about as deep as the story went.
I don't know if I would hit it that hard, but yeah, it's a very straightforward sort of narrative, but it does have some wrinkles and nuances, which I'll give it credit for. Most notably, in exploring Strange's just love lost aspect with the Rachel McAdams character, which I appreciated, and also the Wanda stuff, without spoiling like where it goes, I thought was interesting. That's kind of the other side of the coin as far as the motivation. Although, like, where things go, I felt like it was moderately, like, kind of meager motivation that you could have put some sense into somebody.
I disagree. As a parent, I disagree.
Okay.
I was much more understanding of the motivation as a parent now.
I love what's said at the very end, without spoiling. We'll talk about it later, but there's a line from a character to a character about taking care and so on that just really just got me right in the feels. And I don't know, it actually did with a few of its written moments, and maybe that's more so performance than like depth of script or anything, but there were a few moments, especially at the back end of the film, where I could just feel that emotional resonance. So
yeah, there was that's the nice thing, like there were a lot of moments like that. There was definitely some moments of comedy throughout as well. It had its fun. The film was trying to have its fun. It wasn't as filled with levity as Spider-Man No Way Home was. It wasn't as quite entertaining as Spider-Man No Way Home was. Like, I was doing, unfortunately, a lot of comparisons because obviously that led into this, right?
Yeah. And they referenced that movie in this film as well. So yeah.
And there are some surprises that are very pleasing in the film. But again, as I mentioned earlier, those surprises, one might say they're cut a little short, so to speak. And
one in particular, which was like, there was one rumored thing that was going to happen, or one rumored character that maybe the marketing killed by just giving the hint at. But the other one was where I was just like, okay.
That was the moment. There was one moment during the movie where the audience reacted that, like, I wish I had my phone actually taping, because like there was someone right next to me was like, let's go, and I felt the same way. I was like, yeah. Awesome. I was very excited about something, but very rapidly afterwards I was unexcited about stuff, and I was like, what is that?
Totally off topic though, I have to say, this was the most packed that I had seen an AMC theater on an afternoon on a Thursday. Like, this movie,
I saw at 3 p.m. and there was maybe 3 empty seats in the very, very front row.
Dude, and as I was leaving at like six-ish, whatever the hell it was, there were still so many people filtering in, tons of people. I was like, I haven't seen the theater this packed since No Way Home, honestly.
Yeah.
Or like maybe Batman, but yeah.
That's possible too. Well, look, everyone shits on the comic book genre nowadays. It feels like it's de rigueur to shit on comic book films, but look, that's what brings people out.
It does.
And I love that, because I'm one of those geeks that has loved comic books since 1992 when Superman died. And like all of the stories that I read growing up are now being made into these comics, or into these comic movies, and I'm just sitting here soaking up as much of it as I can. Like, I went to this, I was so excited about this film. I legitimately don't know what to expect. It's Multiverse of Madness. Literally anything can be put in my face. And I guess maybe that's part of why I was a little disappointed, is because it didn't give me quite as much as I suppose I was hoping for. It gave me a concentrated amount at a certain point in the movie, but the rest was a very thin storyline that just kind of I was watching play out.
So. One of my buddies from the Hail to Stephen King group posted about his enjoyment of it, and I was like, yeah, I really dug it too, and which I continue to maintain. But then there was another person who was kind of echoing more so your sentiments, who was like, Well, this was kind of a missed opportunity because they could have gone so much more like, just balls deep with it, just like crazy with this, and they only like dipped their toe a little bit. So I can see the criticisms, but yeah.
Well, let's talk about the acting. I thought the acting was good all around. I mean, it's a Marvel film; they're not going to invest in bad acting.
Elizabeth Olsen, dude. Elizabeth Olsen.
She rocked it out.
She was so goddamn good in this movie.
But some people might think it's a hell of a swing, coming off of what we got at WandaVision. Like WandaVision was a very wonderful, self-contained, series that was leading. We didn't quite know where, but where we left Wanda, things happen, and it's a bit of a adjustment that has to be made, and but nonetheless, it doesn't make it any less entertaining. And in fact, maybe perhaps it makes you even more invested in what's going on. So I understand why they did what they did in the film. It's just with a title like Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, I was like, wow, they can go really balls to the wall, and they visit maybe two different multiverses.
yeah. There's that whole flip bit, which is really awesome, and we'll get to that in that.
Right. That's true.
Yeah, in the production and special effects and so on and so forth. But no, it's not as nuanced of a performance from her though as you got in WandaVision, because of the fact that you saw her span the gamut of like cheeriness and just everything in between, all the way to miserable sadness and such. And this definitely veers more so into the tragic side with her character, without spoiling stuff. I didn't think Strange was quite as egotistically bombast. They almost de-Starked him a little bit, but I guess they were doing that in Infinity War and even a little bit in No Way Home. So they made him oddly feel like a supporting character in his own film. He totally did. 100%. Yeah.
But acting wise,
he was good.
Benedict did a great job. I thought the young girl that did America Chavez, she played America just fine. But
she was kind of ho-hum for me, man.
Yeah, it felt like the movie wanted me to care more about her than they had earned.
Yeah.
Based on what we had seen. This is our first introduction to her, and it feels like they want me to care about her like I should care about Spider-Man. And it's like, well, no, I just met her, and I don't have 30 years of comic backstory in my head about her, so I don't care about her right away as if Doctor Strange was pairing up with Spider-Man. And the weird thing is, the MCU is using Doctor Strange now to a point where, Doctor Strange movie 1 is the only thing that felt like it just focused on Doctor Strange and he was his own character to go through an arc. Literally everything else, he feels like a supporting character to a younger, different Avenger.
Well, it's an interesting thing with so many of these sequels to the solo films a lot of the time. I mean, I guess we'll see with the new Ant-Man film, but it's like they're just overstuffing the turkey a little bit. It's like we can't just have it be like you were saying about the title character. We have to have somebody else in there. That's why they put Iron Man in the first, Spidey Homecoming. You always have to have additional just brand representation with these characters, I guess, as opposed to, like you were saying, have it focus on whose movie it's supposed to be. So it's kind of a weird thing, but it's how they keep those other characters in the public consciousness in a film that doesn't have Avengers in the title, I guess. So
I did, as you brought up briefly earlier, I did enjoy Rachel McAdams.
Yeah, she was good.
She did a good job. She was able to play. The fun thing about movies like this is when actors get to play different versions of themselves across different realities, and so she was one of the people that was able to do that, and I always enjoy that in stuff like this because it's so comic booky, right? You don't get that's why I loved the show Fringe as much as I did when it was happening a decade ago.
Yeah, the Joshua Jackson show, right?
But also they were doing multiverse storytelling that was comic book level 10 years before it was, 12 years ago, which is technically right before the start of the Marvel Universe launch and everything like that. But there was literally the main one of the main characters in our universe was Walter, and the bad guy for one of the seasons was Walternate, the alternate universe Walter.
That's cool.
because it was like, what if Walter had the gumption and the ambition to like do all the shit that he was smart enough to be able to do, rather than being debilitated by, you know, certain things and whatever. And I was like, oh, they literally did, like, they traveled between universes, and like you had alternate versions of yourself and stuff like that. Like,
I had no idea that show did that, man.
oh my god, yeah, that's why Fringe was so amazing.
Uh,
Fringe did that years before the Marvel MCU is now dabbling into the multiverse. But I just think they got a little big for their britches after No Way Home, and they tried to do some stuff, and it was like, it just wasn't quite enough story-wise, but it was still a very entertaining romp. Like, that's the most I can say about this film.
Yeah, and just to cap off the acting real quick, like, I unfortunately felt like Benedict Wong was, you know, a little underutilized, but that's to be expected.
Well, he had actually quite a bit to do.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
yeah,
like,
again, not the
from like
deepest,
a storytelling standpoint.
yeah, not the
Once
deepest developmental situation. Yeah,
Yeah, and dare I say, Benedict, I felt like he was the most interesting when we saw different incarnations of his character. To be fair, whether it was an
Fair.
undead version or the one in the version with the car that you were talking about, like,
right.
I thought that was, and yet I was trying to see if we actually got that other version from What If. I'm not saying
No,
that
it was
we read
not the same one.
I
No.
didn't think so. Yeah, but
No, it wasn't. Like, you know, the trailers, it was very easy to believe so, but no, it is not the What If Doctor Strange, for those that are curious. But you know, it doesn't need to be. It's
great episode though. One of my favorites from the Marvel series.
But
Yeah.
there was an appearance from, I mean, not specifically from, but there was another iteration of a character that was focused on in What If. But anyway,
what happens with that character? I'm like, this is Raimi. Yep, that shield. This is Raimi.
so anyway, we'll get into all that. But yeah, let's talk about the cinematography and the filmmaking, which was so Sam Raimi.
Yeah.
Like, it felt like the same director as the Spider-Man movies, the early Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies.
Mm-hmm.
But there was actually quite a bit of Evil Dead in this film. Quite a bit.
Especially in the back half, yeah.
Oh, yeah, but specifically, there was one moment where evil was closing in, and there were, like, doors to this room that everyone's in, and they look at this door, and the camera zooms in as the door slams, and then they look at another door, and the camera zooms in as the door slams. I was like, that's fucking Evil Dead right there. Like,
yeah.
There is so much Evil Dead brought to this movie from Sam Raimi, and in more ways than one, especially considering a particular cameo and what happens with the cameo.
and in the post credits, right?
Yep,
As well, which was so funny. Yeah, it made me laugh.
But yeah, so the filmmaking was great. I mean, honestly,
it was visually trippy, dude. Like some of the sequences of like just a distorted viewpoint and like the waviness. I don't know if that's filters or post or whatever the hell that was going on. There was also a lot of like tilting and then like turning of the camera sort of stuff. And once again, I mean, it's so effects heavy, but in an incredibly impressive way. Like a lot of the stuff with Scarlet Witch where she's like doing the meditation and like the reds and the blacks and everything, like from a visual standpoint, I almost saw it in 3D because I was like, they rarely offer things in 3D anymore. There must be some sort of reason behind that. And I think there was
I'd be curious to watch it in 3D too.
I think there were certain sequences where it was just like, what would that have looked like? But yeah, it was such a beautifully impressive film, and I felt like the editing was a little jonky at times, especially earlier in the film, but then when I got accustomed to, you know, how it was going, I was just like, okay, yeah.
I never felt that way about the editing, I'll be honest.
It was like early on that I was feeling that way, but yeah, once I felt like that was the style of the film, and I'm like, okay, this is what they're going with, all right. It was more so from like a storytelling standpoint where, you know, bits of dialogue and then like quick cut to the next thing happening, and you know, but never from a triptastic like crazy visual onslaught that it was. So
then let's talk about the effects, and they were plentiful. I mean, 80% of this movie was visual effects, if I had to guess, because
a lot of green screen.
yeah, lots of green screen, lots of stuff going on, and but nothing took me out of the film. I was on board the whole way through. I thought the effects worked.
Yeah. How about there's some creatures in this. Obviously, we see one in the trailer, the one-eyed octopusy sort of thing. Also, where they go to a temple. And you know what? Off topic once again. Sorry, but of course you would have Sam Raimi directing a film where there is like a Book of the Dead that is significantly a part of the storytelling. Like, why wouldn't that be the case, right? But they find.
I mean, the book did appear in WandaVision, so it's not like he created it. But yeah,
no, but I mean, it just felt befitting for him to be.
Sure, I agree with that.
Part of something. But
well, not only that, I mean, it's very befitting that there was an animated corpse. It's very befitting that there was, an attacking hand. Like, there was a lot that was very befitting of the director in this film.
Yeah, lots of callbacks for sure. Crazy kind of creature design when you get to that temple later in the film, and you see that somebody was prophesied almost, and there's this whole, like, I don't know, like altar of sorts to that particular character without spoiling. I thought those creatures that like do the little bowing down and stuff, I thought they were relatively cool. I wish they'd done a little bit more with them.
The Golem-esque creatures.
Yep, very much so. I thought that the design was cool on them. And also just that there's a sequence that we've alluded to a few times where Strange and America are for the first time like jumping through a bunch of different universes, and it's almost like shuffling of cards sort of thing, because you get a glimpse of so many.
There was a lot, but that I loved that because they went for it, especially with one universe in particular. They really went for it, and I was like, dude, that's something that kind of project would definitely do if they were passing through universes.
Yeah, it was not without its flaws at the end of the day, but and like segueing the music, I thought the Danny Elfman score really worked. I thought it just punctuated things really precisely.
There was one musical cue that got me like a motherfucker. I was like, whoa, yes. Dude, that when that came up, I literally was the only one in the audience that went, the musical cue. I loved it.
Yeah, it was not without its faults, as I was saying, but I had a lot of fun with this movie, man. And I'm notorious on this channel recently. Jason Smith, I'm looking at you, even if you watch this stuff, for like hating everything. But no, man, I was very entertained. It's not going to go down as one of my favorite Marvel films either, as far as MCU stuff. But for me, it's right behind No Way Home as my favorite thus far of Phase 4. So.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
So yeah, guys, I think that's as much as we can cover without spoiling. I do think we need to do a spoiler section real quick, so we'll dive into that. If you don't want to be spoiled, don't watch from here on out. Save the video, put it to your watch later, and then come back and check it out when you've seen the movie, because we got to dive into some of this stuff. So, with that being said, 5, 4, 3,
we're gonna say 2, the same thing.
1. Spoilers, Fuego. Don't start. I'm giving the spoiler warning. Okay. Now, everyone knows.
Okay,
it
so
says spoilers section right here.
I have to ask you, what was your biggest surprise? Because I know what mine was. And it was something that had been rumored through social media, or it was actually like fan casting more so than anything else, where they're like, we want this real life couple play these characters. And because of the fact that
that was the moment that I alluded to, where people were like, let's go and stuff.
Same, dude. Yeah, because the other big cameo, which we'll talk about in a moment,
it was spoiled in the ads.
Which is dumb. They should have kept it under wraps. They should have kept it more as safeguarded as they tried to keep,
if they had not put that in the trailer, it would have gotten cheers like Tobey Maguire cheers.
Big time.
In Spider-Man, yeah.
Although those photos leaked too, so I mean, nothing.
But still, the cheers are undeniable in some of the fan reaction videos that people post. So, guys, since we're talking about spoilers, we're talking about this particular thing. We're talking about the fact that obviously Patrick Stewart does appear as Professor X, but not just any Professor X. The Professor X from the cartoon version of the X-Men.
Oh, based on the chair. I didn't even think about that.
It was the chair. No, that's the musical cue that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
When he rolled on, you hear in the background, doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo.
Yeah.
Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. And like they just play those two little riffs as he moves on. But yeah, it's his yellow hover chair from the comics, or from the cartoon rather. So it is literally the Professor X from the cartoon. It was fucking rad. I was like, yes, dude, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
And like, it was only confirmed by the musical cue. That's why I was like, the musical cue in the theater.
And dude, I love the fact that I thought it was just going to be that particular scene with him talking in their weird Illuminati collective, but
no, the Illuminati got.
Dude, when Wanda, like when he went into Wanda's head, I thought that was a really awesome visceral scene. Like there were so many trippy, just like jumping around into people's heads, and like that scene with all of the white, and where he's trying to pull her out because she's been commandeered by a different iteration of herself, which is the cause of all of this evil that's transpiring. Like, I thought Patrick Stewart, despite the fact that he's only in maybe 10 minutes of the film, I thought he really resonated, and I felt like he was really damn good in this, man.
Yeah. Well, he gets his neck snapped.
Yeah.
Yeah, real quick.
Yeah.
That's the thing. We get introduced to the Illuminati in this film. The entire Illuminati gets killed. It's fucking crazy.
And in brutal fashion, too. That's where Raimi was like, yo, how far can I push my PG-13? And
well, some of this stuff was directly from the comics. And one thing in particular. So yeah, basically what happens is Doctor Strange is trying to protect America Chavez from Wanda, who is revealed to be the villain of the film. Wanda is trying to be able to she's trying to steal America's powers, and by doing so she would kill America in order to be able to travel to a universe where her kids are alive. And so that's the whole thing. It's a grieving mother trying to do whatever she can to get back with her children, and damn anyone that gets in her way.
Yeah, because she has those boys in every other iteration of the multiverse.
Well, many of them.
So she was saying at one point, remember, she's like, they exist in every other one. And that was one bit where I must say, I kind of scratched my head and kind of laughed a little bit, where there's an exchange between Doctor Strange, like the main Doctor Strange, and then that other iteration in the near post-apocalyptic universe. And they're talking about the death of a sibling, and I guess there's supposed to be similarities amongst all these universes, but if I'm going to Stephen King it, there's also other universes where everything is completely different as opposed to slightly similar.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they explored that quite as much within this, but...
Well, no, they didn't have time to explore all of that much, But yeah, so that's the deal. Wanda's the big bad. She's trying to track down America in order to take her powers, i.e. kill her, so that Wanda can travel between dimensions and make sure that her kids are safe and all that stuff. Doctor Strange obviously can't allow this to happen, and when he goes to meet the Illuminati, one of the things that was so surprising, and the thing that everyone in the audience cheered for, was that the Illuminati was revealed. First, it's Baron Mordo, who is now the Sorcerer Supreme in this particular universe. So Mordo from the first Doctor Strange movie. There was
Chiwetel Ejiofor, I want to say.
Anyway. Chiwetel Ejiofor. And then there was a different Captain Marvel, a black female Captain Marvel instead of the Brie Larson Captain Marvel.
Thank God.
Jesus. There was also Black Bolt. This was one of the coolest things. So Black Bolt is
I don't know who that is. Yeah.
So Black Bolt is one of the Inhumans. So the Inhumans actually had a show for like a season, and it did terribly. I don't know if this is the Black Bolt from that show, but Black Bolt is the leader of the Inhumans. The Inhumans, again, they had a brief Marvel show a couple of years back. It did very terribly.
Yeah,
it was originally canceled it.
It was originally going to be a movie, and then didn't they retrofit it to be an ABC TV show, and then it just bombed, and they were just cut it out. Yeah.
But Black Bolt is the leader of the Inhumans, and he's basically a dude in a cool black suit with a tuning fork right on his forehead, and basically he has the destructive power unlike anything you've ever seen. He can whisper and destroy worlds. Like, any utterance from his mouth has destructive capabilities, so he stays silent almost all the time. But we find
so was he, since he talked in that one scene?
That's why Doctor Strange was killed, because he spoke. So he whispered, he said, and did you hear what he said? All he said was, "I'm sorry." He whispered, "I'm sorry," and it fucking blew that Doctor Strange away.
Speaking of,
that's how powerful Black Bolt is. But that's why it was so fucking cool when the Scarlet Witch was like, "What mouth?" and like Black Bolt had no mouth, and he tried to talk, and it blew his own brain out the back of his head.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that was so fucking rad. Like, you only know why that's cool because I know the way Black Bolt's powers work. Mm-hmm. So I was like, oh, he spoke and it blew the back of his brains out. Oh shit, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then who was the other one besides the ones we're talking about? And
there was the Agent Carter who was retrofitted.
Right, Captain Carter.
Yeah, in that What If episode where you find out in that alternate reality that she has...
So Peggy Carter, in that reality, in that What If episode, Steve Rogers dies, and so Peggy Carter takes the super soldier serum instead and becomes Captain Carter.
And it was the same actress, right?
Yeah. It was Haley Atwell. Yeah. So she was Captain Carter, but during the fight, because the whole Illuminati has to fight Wanda, and Wanda literally, Captain Carter throws the shield, and Wanda sends the shield back, and it literally slices Captain Carter in half.
Yeah, they pushed the PG-13. I mean, you don't
really did. It was so dope.
Yeah. You don't see like the haps or anything because it's.
But
PG-13.
you see the shield, the bloody shield hit the pillar behind her.
Yeah, there was blood and a little bit of gore, and later on, once we see a little bit of zombie effects and stuff like this, definitely did live up to, at least in my estimation, the horror contingent that was rumored. That it still makes me wonder what Derrickson's version would have looked like. But, he did Black Phone, and he seems to be doing just fine, so,
But the biggest cameo, which we still haven't talked about, the last member of the Illuminati, which was so cool.
The fan casting, man.
Well, here's the thing. They actually alluded to this prior to it, when Rachel McAdams from this universe, when Doctor Strange and America are in their cells, and the red-haired Rachel McAdams is there, and she's talking. She's like, I work for the Baxter Corporation. So the Baxter building is the Fantastic Four's building in New York.
Okay. And yeah, that just went right over my head.
Yeah, so she said, I work for the Baxter Corporation, and I was like, oh, that's the Fantastic Four, baby! And then later on, it's revealed in the Illuminati scene that one of the members of the Illuminati is Reed Richards, but not just any Reed Richards, John fucking Krasinski.
Yeah.
Reed Richards. That is the fan casting that I have to imagine you were alluding to.
Indeed it was, because there have been people petitioning for him and Emily Blunt to be,
She would make such an excellent Sue Storm, but she's poo-pooed it, saying, like, I wouldn't do that. But if this happened...
Well, they're making the Fantastic Four movie, although John Watts just left the project.
But it doesn't matter. Again, we're talking about spoilers, and this is the moment that was from the comics directly. Wanda, literally, when Reed Richards tries to stop her, Wanda unravels him. He literally gets unraveled like he's a ribbon that's been tied together, and she literally pulls him apart.
It looked pretty damn
bursts,
cool, man.
And his head bursts in a pop of red.
So
technically, he could have just been cameoing as Reed Richards just to die, and he won't play Reed Richards going forward.
Yeah, because it's an alternate universe or whatever. Because you have McAvoy in one universe as Professor X.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. But it was still so dope, dude. Like
it was great to see him.
It was the most unexpected thing for me in the entirety of the film, to be honest.
It was the one thing that I didn't know by any stretch if it would happen, but I was really hoping it would, because I know who the Illuminati are. And it should have been Namor. Namor should have been one of them too. But they haven't introduced Namor yet.
He's been hinted at though, right? If I'm not mistaken.
I don't think
in the
directly.
Black Panther in the Black Panther movie.
Yes, right. Yes, in the Black Panther one they did mention something to do with Namor. Yeah. But yeah, so that was the big thing, was John Krasinski playing Reed Richards, because that's one of the rumors. Since John Watts has left the Fantastic Four movie, some of the rumors are saying that John Krasinski can step in to direct, since he's going to play Reed Richards anyway.
Wouldn't that be interesting?
Wouldn't that be awesome?
I'd be all about it. I
directed A Quiet Place. He kicked ass with A Quiet Place. He knows what he's doing. Like, give it to him. Let him do it.
Yeah, that's even bigger budget. I mean, if you're giving him a Marvel superhero movie, because that first A Quiet Place was like moderate budget level. But I thought he was terrific in the few scenes that we got from him.
One of the biggest horror scenes was the way Doctor Strange dispatched the tentacled dude when he literally impales the eyeball
right in
with a flagpole and then yanks it out. and like the eyeball falls separate from the creature, and like I was like, Jesus, this is the part that kids probably shouldn't see.
Yeah.
Holy fuck.
Oh, dude, the part that I was all about was where he jumped into his like alternate universe corpse and
His dead
reanimated
corpse.
it. Yeah.
How
All of the-
fucking
all of
Army
the-
of Darkness was that, though?
So fucking Army of Darkness, dude. Especially
that
with,
was
like,
so
the
evil,
like,
Ash.
like the swirling evils around him, and they're talking and they're laughing, and the maniacal aspect of all of it. Like I was all about that confrontation sequence with Wanda. It was so
well,
cool.
by the way, since we're in spoilers, we didn't talk about it. When they jump into that alternate reality, they happen where food is free. America takes some pizza balls, and I can't remember what he called him, like the Pizza Don or something like that. Hey, you got to pay the Pizza Don or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Pizza Boss, maybe,
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Mhm.
And it's Bruce Campbell.
Yep, he has
and-
a cameo in like every Sam Raimi movie.
Yes, well, including all the Spider-Man movies. And so when he's like, you gotta pay me, and he's about to swing at Doctor Strange, and Doctor Strange like does a magic thing, and he like starts beating himself up. It's Bruce versus the Hand once again, just like in Evil Dead 2. And America's like, how long is he gonna be doing that? Like 3 hours? And he's just like, 3 weeks. And like, so he's just beating his own ass, and he's like putting himself on the grill and stuff like that. It was exactly like Evil Dead 2 when the Hand was really fucking with him.
Yeah.
It was so awesome, and that ties in with the post credit sequence.
Yep.
Where it's Bruce still beating his own ass up, and the Hand stops, and he just looks at the camera. He's like, "It's over," and then it cuts to black.
Yeah. Okay, but you just reminded me of the mid credits because I have no fucking idea who Charlize Theron was.
No idea. Yep. So basically, in the at the very end of the film, because Doctor Strange wielded the powers of the Darkhold, the book that Wanda was using throughout the film, there's a Doctor Strange that he encounters that has been using the Darkhold, and he has a third eye, and he's become evil. And he says there's consequences for using the Darkhold. Steven uses it in order to achieve the ends of the movie, and so at the very end of the film, he's walking on the street like, and all of a sudden he starts screaming, and then the third eye opens on our Doctor Strange. Flash forward to the mid-credits scene where he's apparently okay, and he hasn't had any issues from that, because as he's walking on the street, Charlize Theron shows up in like all green, and I was like, wait, is she from the Eternals? I originally thought that she was
It was like a
Angelina
purple
Jolie from the Eternals. It was a green costume.
I thought it was purple.
No, it was green, but her blade was purple.
And her eyeliner.
And her eyeliner was purple,
Yeah,
right.
thinking
So she's like,
She's got those.
she's like,
Anyway.
Stephen Strange, you need to help. And she like she's got like a Psylocke blade, like a psionic blade. It's purple, and she cuts through reality, and you look through and you see like the dark dimension behind her, and she's like, we need to go. And Doctor Strange's third eye opens, and he smiles, and he's like, let's go. And it's like, so I guess he's screaming from the third eye at the very end of the movie, but by the mid-credit sequence, he's adjusted to having the third eye. And no, I have no idea who Charlize Theron's character is supposed to be.
I'm trying to look. What is the next? Okay, Thor is the next. Film in Phase.
I can't
4.
wait for that. By the way,
Yeah.
did you get to see the Avatar trailer?
No, I didn't.
Oh, they put the Avatar trailer in front of me.
No, I deliberately, I skip trailers every time.
Oh, no,
because-
I knew they were going to have a special trailer, and I didn't know which
shit.
one. But yeah, it was the first Avatar trailer for the new Water movie, and I was like, as soon as it came on, I was like, oh, shit. And the guy next to me like looked over. I was like, "I'm sorry, it's Avatar.
Okay,
It's been
now-
like 12 years."
Now I have to go see it in 3D because Avatar is still one of my favorite 3D experiences.
Oh, it's my absolute
And
favorite 3D experience. They're
100%.
re-releasing it in the theater ahead of the new movie, and I'm gonna absolutely go and watch it again.
Yeah, we'll have to
because
get
no
tickets.
3D movie has ever matched the way that movie looked.
Truly, yeah, never. But Love and Thunder, July 8th, just a couple months away. I don't know if we'll get any hints as to what the hell was going on with Strange, but I'm curious. Yeah, I'm sure if I, scour
Probably not.
YouTube and because they have all those like, post credits explained sort of shit.
Yeah, ending explained.
Yeah, ending explained. So. Yeah, I might do that after we're done with this review, but nonetheless, yeah, it was.
I think we covered pretty much everything. The Delta was the thing I was the most excited to spot, because it was big and it was just rotating like on its front, like it's as though it was standing on its front end in the street when it was rotating in front of them. I was like, that's the Delta.
Yeah.
So Sam Raimi lovers are definitely going to enjoy this film. So
for sure. I mean, the biggest thing for me, I think, was the impressiveness of Elizabeth Olsen's performance and the fact that like the grief.
Oh yeah.
The grief to like borderline insanity. The fact that, so I had so many friends tell me that, because I haven't read like Scarlet Witch in comics or anything like that, but a friend of mine back in my Comic-Con days, like one of my cosplay buddies, she was telling me that Scarlet Witch is like the most powerful character like in
100%
in the entire Marvel universe.
Dude, she's the reason why the House of M happened.
And she does go evil at some points, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
so,
she when her kids disappear, that's when Brian Bendis took over. Her kids disappear from reality. She goes insane. She destroys the Avengers. She kills Hawkeye. And the thing she says is no more mutants. That's when the mutant population of the Marvel Universe went from thousands down to 198. Some people were speculating that they would do it in reverse, where Wanda would be like mutants at the end and it would create the mutant universe. But instead, they just tied it in where Professor X is just from a universe where the X-Men exist.
Well, I mean, after recently loving Everything Everywhere All at Once, and which also deals with multiverse stuff, like this was comparable in quality, maybe even more ambitious from a visual standpoint. I mean, lots more money, which definitely helps. But I mean, at the heart of this, I was just very impressed with the trajectory of what happened with Olsen's Wanda, and the fact that she just seeing her get really sinister and covered in the blood in that third act, and just getting really nasty and charring people, and seeing their like bodies just decompose to like ashes and cinder and shit. I mean, this really went for the horror, which I did appreciate, and she was very nasty in everything that she did, yet still with kind of an emotional core, which was appreciative as well. So
yeah, for sure. Well, there you go, guys. I think that's going to do it for our Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness discussion. Let us know what your thoughts are in those comments down below, whether it's beyond the spoilers or non-spoilers. Go ahead and let us know. Thank you very much to our patrons for supporting the channel the way that you do. We greatly appreciate it. And until next time, you guys, I've been Cecil Laird.
And Gracias Jaime Fuego.
And remember, stay scared.